essentially. So Team USA's roster, of course, came out the other day. I did a couple of videos about it. We know Caitlin Clark finally going to emerge in a competitive setting in a training camp that they're going to have right here. Let me just give you the specifics. Indiana Fever superstar Caitlin Clark hinted that she would participate in Team USA basketball activities during the WNBA offseason, following the conclusion of her team's 2025 campaign. Initially, the thought was...
A recent social media post regarding Team USA's basketball roster has sparked significant debate among fans, with particular controversy surrounding suggested starting lineups. The discussion centers on whether certain players deserve spots in the starting five, leading to heated exchanges across various platforms. The roster announcement revealed that Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark would participate in USA basketball activities during the WNBA offseason after her team's 2025 campaign concluded. Clark had previously hinted at involvement in basketball events, initially thought to reference the March 2026 training camp preceding the FIBA World Cup qualifying tournament scheduled for March 11 to 17. However, confirmation came that she would attend a women's national team training camp in Durham, North Carolina from December 12 to 14, alongside teammate Aaliyah Boston and head coach Stephanie White.
Off-season, following the conclusion of her team's 2025 campaign. Initially, the thought was she was referring to USA basketball training camp in early March 2026, which is a precursor to the 2026 FIBA World Cup qualifying tournament from March 11 through 17. While it's currently unclear whether Clark will indeed compete in this training camp or tournament, she will certainly be in Durham, North Carolina from December 12th through 14th as part of USA Basketball Women's National Team training camp, as well as her...
Considerable enthusiasm surrounds Clark's return to competition, particularly since her last court appearance occurred in mid-July when a groin injury effectively ended her 2025 WNBA season. An ankle injury that emerged unexpectedly also contributed to her extended absence from play. A proposed starting lineup featuring Clark at point guard alongside Kaylee Copper, Jackie Young, Dirkika Hamby, and Aaliyah Boston generated substantial commentary. The post, which included reserve players as well, accumulated over 200,000 views and prompted numerous alternative suggestions from fans. Supporters of various players quickly voiced objections to the proposed lineup.
Training camp, as well as her Fever teammate Aaliyah Boston and her head coach, Stephanie White. Oh boy. This has prompted a ton of excitement, largely because Clark hasn't been seen competing on a basketball court since she injured her groin in the middle of July, which effectively ended her 2025 WNBA season, as well as all of a sudden we had a ankle injury that showed up out of nowhere, right? Fans debate whether Clark should...
Some advocated for Paige Bueckers to start ahead of Clark, while others questioned whether Clark should be included in the starting five at all following her injury concerns. Multiple counter-proposals emerged, including lineups featuring Bueckers, Angel Reese, Rakia Jackson, Kelsey Plum, and Cameron Brink in various combinations. A particularly contentious point involves veteran guard Chelsea Gray. Numerous commenters argued that Gray deserves starting consideration over Clark based on her experience and competitive resume. However, others dismissed this notion entirely, maintaining that Clark's offensive capabilities and facilitating skills make her the clear choice at point guard regardless of Gray's veteran status.
Showed up out of nowhere, right? Fans debate whether Clark should start on this team. I don't know how this is even a debate. This post got put up as a potential starting five. All right, Caitlin Clark at point guard, Kaylee Copper, Jackie Young, Dirkika Hamby, and Aaliyah Boston, and then of course these are the reserves on the team, right? And my God, the Paige Bueckers supporters.
Critics of Clark's starting position pointed to her league-leading turnover numbers as justification for benching her. Supporters countered by highlighting her record-setting assist per game average and status as the league's most dynamic offensive facilitator. Many argued that Clark should never play off the ball, instead functioning as a quarterback-like creator similar to signal callers in football. Despite various dissenting opinions, a majority of fans appeared to support Clark receiving a starting spot. Several suggested lineups paired Clark with Bueckers in the backcourt, alongside players like Jackie Young, Angel Reese, and Aaliyah Boston.
My God. The Paige Bueckers supporters, of course. And I don't want to throw Angel supporters in this because I've seen a lot of actually put Angel and Caitlyn on the court at the same time. But somehow this got labeled as rage bait. And I'm not sure how this is controversial, but here we go with some of the dumbass takes that came out of this, right? It's got over 200,000 views on it now. Paige.
Other proposals included Kiki Harfon and Sonia Centron, with some expressing interest in seeing Clark and Centron share the court simultaneously. Questions arose regarding several roster decisions beyond the starting lineup debate. The inclusion of Cameron Brink, despite her injury recovery from an ACL tear, prompted concerns about potential re-injury risks. Observers noted that while Brink could attend camp, actually playing could jeopardize her health, though all participants faced some injury risk during competitive activities. Notable absences also drew attention.
Paige. Okay. Young, Copper, Cameron Brink. Really? After being injured like that? Reese, suggesting Caitlyn should be left out of the starting five. Paige over Caitlyn, and then it is good. Okay. Paige Bueckers, Angel Reese, Rakia Jackson, Kelsey Cameron Britt. Again? All right. This is the one that continues to baffle me, besides the Paige thing. This Chelsea.
Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart were not involved in this particular camp, and multiple commenters questioned why Kelsey Mitchell failed to receive a roster invitation. Some viewed Mitchell's exclusion as particularly puzzling given her performance levels. Cameron Brink's presence on the roster itself faced scrutiny, with some accepting her inclusion but opposing a starting role. Veronica Burton's name emerged as an alternative preference over Kaylee Copper in certain proposed lineups. Angel Reese's roster spot generated mixed reactions.
Page thing. This Chelsea Gray deal. I mean, seriously. Caitlin Clark over Chelsea Gray in competitive basketball? Question mark. Some dude says, suggesting the veteran guard Chelsea Gray deserves a starting role over Caitlin Clark. Look, I've only been locked in for a couple of years. There's not a world where I'm starting Gray over Caitlin Clark. Not a galaxy far, far away. Nowhere. Caitlin Clark over Chelsea Gray in competitive basketball.
While some questioned her inclusion entirely, others defended her selection by pointing to improvements in specific areas of her game during the previous season, despite acknowledging she still has development ahead. The Chelsea Gray support from certain segments of the fan base remained a source of confusion for many observers, who struggled to understand the rationale behind starting a veteran over younger talent like Clark. Some even suggested Gray over Copper would make more sense than Gray over Clark. Broader questions emerged about the objectives of Team USA selection committees. Discussions touched on whether the priority should be maximizing women's basketball's popularity in television ratings or strictly focusing on competitive merit.
Over Chelsea Gray in competitive basketball? Question mark. 127 times out of 10. Yeah, easy. Paige, Sonia, Jackie Young, Angel Reese, Cam Britt. I don't know if you can start a point guard that leads the league in turnovers, but who knows? Well, she also set a record for assists per game. She is the game's best facilitator. Most dynamic offensive facilitator.
Clark's obvious ability to generate viewership and interest factored into these conversations. Reports surfaced claiming that the 2024 selection committee had concerns about including Clark on that roster, allegedly fearing criticism if she didn't receive sufficient playing time. Critics of this reasoning argued that selection committees exist precisely to handle such feedback and should prioritize fielding the best possible team regardless of potential backlash. Fan criticism represents a normal part of sports when audiences disagree with personnel decisions. The debate ultimately reflects tension between traditional WNBA perspectives and newer
more than we think they're going to have to pay Alexi Hull, and I think they're going to have to pay Sophie Cunningham. I think they might have to pay both of them 3/4 of max. And I think to fill out their bench and make an actual deep lineup, I think they're going to have that max contract power forward. And with losing Natasha Howard, her max money goes to that. And I don't think they have the DeWanna Bonner max contract money. But on a positive note, they're not still paying Katie Luke coming into next year. So players that I think that they should look at that near max money. First of all, like we have to talk about whether or not they bring back Natasha Howard, who
Some characterize this as a generational shift, with established figures from previous eras facing pressure from audiences with different priorities and preferences. Regarding the fundamental question of whether Clark should start at point guard, substantial support exists for that position. Many view her selection as obvious rather than controversial, considering her offensive production and playmaking abilities central to any competitive lineup construction. The notion that this represents rage bait or intentionally provocative content struck many as overblown, viewing the suggested starting five as straightforward and logical rather than inflammatory. The broader discussion illustrates ongoing debates about roster construction, veteran versus emerging talent, injury considerations, and the intersection of competitive goals with commercial interests in women's basketball.
first of all, like we have to talk about whether or not they bring back Natasha Howard, who was on the team last year, who was the Commissioner's Cup Finals MVP. My instant answer is no. If she is coming back as a max contract player, I don't believe she's worth it. I think that she was obviously a key piece to the Commissioner's Cup win. I think there were individual games that she played where she was great. But if you look at the game log, like in
Different constituencies clearly maintain divergent views on how Team USA should approach these selections, with Clark's role serving as a focal point for these larger conversations about the sport's direction. The 2026 WNBA offseason presents a massive opportunity with an unprecedented number of available players. Stars like Jackie Young, Kelsey Mitchell, Jewel Lloyd, and Kalea Copper are among the many veterans entering free agency. The Indiana Fever face crucial decisions about which premium-tier talents to pursue with their limited cap space. The franchise appears positioned to offer one maximum-level contract, though financial commitments to Lexi Hull and potentially Sophie Cunningham could consume significant portions of the budget.
game log, like in the final or in the semifinals, she had 12 in game one, and then in games 2, 3, and 4, got cooked by Alyssa Smith. She got cooked by Alyssa Smith in these games. Like, she had almost as many turnovers as points in some of them. And it was the same. She did okay against Atlanta in games 2 and 3. But if you looked at the regular season, it was 18, 8, 10, 6, 5, 12, 7, 7, 21, 17, 11, 6, 0.
Both players may command deals near 3/4 of the maximum salary. With Natasha Howard's departure freeing up her maximum contract slot and Katie Lou Samuelson's deal expiring, the team has flexibility to target a premier power forward. Despite winning Commissioner's Cup Finals MVP, Natasha Howard's return on a maximum deal seems questionable. While she contributed key performances during the Commissioner's Cup run, consistency remained elusive throughout the season. The conference semifinals exposed vulnerabilities when Alyssa Thomas dominated matchups across games 2 through 4.
21, 17, 11, 6, 0, 18, 13, 8, 18, 18, 9, 4. Like, there was a level of inconsistency there from Natasha Howard. And one of those things was, it was a stylistic thing. You saw early on in the year, like, this game didn't really count because the Sky were terrible. But she was better when Caitlin Clark wasn't there a lot of the time. And in blowout wins with Caitlin Clark, like where's the Dallas win? She looked really good in the...
Howard's turnover issues in those contests nearly matched her scoring output. Regular season statistics told a similar story of unpredictability, with performances ranging wildly from game to game. Production varied dramatically between contests, suggesting stylistic incompatibility rather than mere slumps. The data indicated Howard performed better when Caitlin Clark was absent or during lopsided victories where transition opportunities were plentiful. Given the franchise's commitment to building around Clark, Howard's fit appears problematic at maximum salary levels.
Where's the Dallas win? She looked really good in the... Where's the Dallas after Atlanta? In this Dallas win, where it was a blowout, where she can just kind of cherry pick and get layups. I didn't think she fit well whatsoever with Caitlin Clark, but again, we have to work off the assumption that the Indiana Fever are building around Caitlin Clark, so I don't think you bring her back. I don't think it's even a question that you bring her back, in my opinion. I don't think it's a question. Like, I would not I wouldn't even consider bringing her back if I was the Indiana Fever. Next,
The former New York Liberty standout presents intriguing offensive capabilities that align with Stephanie White's motion-based system. Jones excels as a facilitator, can operate inside and outside, and functions as an effective offensive hub. Her skill set mirrors an improved offensive version of Aaliyah Boston, though defensive production doesn't quite match Boston's level. However, pace represents a significant concern. Jones struggled playing alongside faster teammates last season, and her effectiveness diminished in up-tempo situations.
if I was the Indiana Fever. Next up is another player. And by the way, I'm not putting Stewie, I'm not putting Aja on this list because they're not getting Stewie or Aja or Fee. They're just not getting any of them. Emma Messiman from the New York Liberty. Pros. In the system Stephanie White says she wants to play, this motion, egalitarian, equal opportunity offense where everyone gets to make decisions, where you need lateral connective passers, you need bigs to go inside out,
While her numbers remained solid, averaging comparable or better statistics than Jones, performance dropped noticeably in losses. Playoff usage decreased because coaching staff avoided playing her extended minutes with Jones. For a traditional half-court oriented system with Odyssey Satu as point guard and Kelsey Mitchell at shooting guard, Jones would excel at maximum salary. But pairing her with Clark's dynamic tempo creates potential conflicts.
You need bigs to go inside out. You need bigs to be able to play inside and outside. You need bigs to be able to be offensive hubs. She can do that. I think on the offensive end, she is a better version of Aaliyah Boston, not as good on the defensive end. I think she is a comparable level player to Aaliyah Boston. Problem, she's slow. It's as simple as that. She's slow, and if you want to play full slowdown, I think you can run her with Aaliyah Boston. Absolutely do I think that. But as we saw last year,
the value proposition shifts dramatically between acquiring her on a veteran minimum mid-season versus committing maximum dollars long-term. Seattle's situation remains uncertain regarding whether they'll pursue another championship window or begin rebuilding around younger talents like Ezi Magbegor and Jordan Horston alongside their lottery pick. The franchise faces a decision about their aging core versus developing youth. Should Seattle make a Wumike available, Indiana represents an ideal landing spot.
I think you can run her with Aaliyah Boston. Absolutely do I think that. But as we saw last year, she didn't play well with Jonquel Jones. And she didn't, she was their best player at decent chunks of last season. Like, if you guys didn't see, even in the game logs, she averaged the same amount, more points than Jonquel. And these are not bad numbers. But if you guys saw how she was playing, she had a run. It was 24, 24, 11, 13, 14, 11, 24, 24. That's she's averaging 16 points per game during her first 6 or 7 games. And they were winning. And then it was just...
She averaged 18 points last season while shooting 37% from three-point range, maintaining that percentage throughout her career. At least one elite season likely remains in her prime, particularly as a fourth offensive option where defensive attention shifts elsewhere. The challenge is Seattle's likely reluctance to move her. Despite playoff appearances, they haven't secured a high enough draft position to force immediate reconstruction.